Hello everyone, and in the previous lesson I made like a procedural hedge. So that gave me an idea of maybe I should do some more sort of procedural modeling exercises. So I'll do like a few more videos of like, whatever random stuff that comes into my mind that you can model, procedurally. Okay, so we're just going to make like a small dial, which is, like we can probably like control the whole thing from here. Okay, so we can just make this, and we can make you can actually make a fair few changes to this. Like you can have it just like that, or you can also change the shape to have it more rectangular like this. So you can do things like that. So to get started, the first step is to build this the morph, which is like we want to go from a circle to a rectangle. So what I'm going to do is I'll just copy this much. Okay, so I'm going to take the line, and what I have is I just have a single line, which is the length of my dial or whatever, and I'm using like a match size to kind of just make it small. Okay, so once this is done, what I want is I just want to give it some width. So I'm going to take a sweep node, and I'm going to give it a sweep and use a ribbon. So that's pretty much it. And then just make sure there are no columns in the middle. So this becomes like the length and width of my object. Let's also put a transform in the middle so that we can sort of scale it down later if we want to. Okay, so we can sort of control the size of this. Now the next step is I want the edges to be rounded. So let's just put a poly bevel over here, and I can use points and just round it off and give it some segments. Okay, now once we've done this, now we can convert this to a circle, but we need more points on this. Like we need points to be more sort of uniformly spaced. So take a resample node, and we'll put this through a resample, and I'll just make it like 0.03. So we have like, enough points on this. Okay, I just want to change the background to like light. Yeah, okay, this is better. Okay, and now we can change this into a circle. So this is pretty simple. Like just type in, this is actually pretty easy to do because there is a node called circle from edges. So you can just take this and drop it in, and it just forms a circle. And you can also give it like a fixed size if you want. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Okay, now what I can do is I can just take a transform. So this is at a uniform radius of 1. So I can just take a transform and then use this to sort of, control the size of the circle. Okay, so we can just call it like say circle size. Okay. And now when we want to do a blend between these, I can just take a blend shape and I can just blend between them. So this one and this one. And now I can just, if I take this value and, adjust it, see, this is what we get. All right, so one of the things I want to do is I want my rectangle to match the size of my circle. Okay, so what we can do is I can just take a match size, and let's take this blend value to 1. Okay, so this comes in here, and I'll take this circle and put it there. Okay, and no need to do a translate. All you want to do is you want to do a scale to fit and use the Z axis. So what happens is it will match the size of this circle. And so now the advantage is like when you make it smaller, see, so it kind of just does, this. It doesn't scale down to a smaller size. Okay, so let's keep this to a circle for now. And now I can take a transform and just, like scale it down. So I can just, adjust the size of this. So this can be like, we can call it dial size, and you can give it a color. So we know like, which node has a control. Okay, now the next step is I want to give it, I want like 2 variations of the circle. Okay, so I want to have grooves or I want to have it smooth. Okay, so for the grooves, what I can do is I can just like after this, these number of points are coming in from the resample. So what I can do is I can take another resample just to specify like number of points. Okay, so I'm just going to take this, turn this off and make it about 50 points. Okay, and take a group by range. So take a group by range. Yeah. and we can, let's call this, let's call it odd. I'll set this to points, and we can pick up, let's pick up 2 of every 4 if you want to do that. Okay, and then we can just take a transform, and this will be odd. You can change this to points if you want, and then I'll make it 0.98. So, or maybe you can go smaller. See, so you can, you can get shapes like these. Sorry, 2 of every 4. There you go. Yeah. So you get like, so the only thing you need to do now is like, you just want to make sure that you have the, you have the right number of points. Otherwise, then it will have like weird things in the middle over there. So I think like 52 might not work. Like you have to go like multiples of 4 or whatever, to get this to be a proper shape. And what I can do is I can put a switch here. Okay, so I can just take this and that, and I can just put a switch. So I can switch between, we can call this grooves. And, so you can have it plain or you can have it as grooves. Okay, so there you go. This will also affect, when we change to this, but then, let's just call it change shape, and I can color this. So if I change this, see, you get that. So that is why, you want to do a switch over there. Okay, now we want to define the height of the dial. So we'll just call this as dial height and make it small. Okay, and what we need to do is we need to take a transform here, and we'll have to rotate this. So rotate it like 90 in X and also 90 in Z. Okay, and I'll explain why, because if you don't, then the sweep doesn't work. Okay, so take a sweep node and just, plug this in over here, and there you go. Okay, like if you don't do this, it extrudes it like that. And why this is important is because if you keep it like that and you see so it's not matching, it's sort of like rotated 90 degrees. So you want to do a 90 in both, like X and Z. So that's done. And now I can just take this and I can give it some caps. And now I want to round off the top and the bottom, but separately. Like the top I want more rounding, and then the bottom I want less. Okay, so I'm going to take this down to the normal size. And the way I did it was like, rather than doing anything too fancy, take a box. Okay, so we're going to make a bounding box out of this. Okay, so just take this and make a box, and then take a transform and make it slightly bigger. Okay, in the X and Z. So make this about like say 1.2. Okay, and we can just right click here. We'll do 1.2 and right click, copy parameter, paste relative reference. Okay, and I want to move it up a little, so move it by about 0.02. Okay, so just a little bit. And now what I can do is take a group, and we're going to use this as a bounding object for grouping. So come in here and do points, and we'll call this stop. And you want to change this to bounding object. Okay, now we can't directly select edges because the bounding object only works on points. Okay, the reason why the scaling is important is if you don't do the scaling, you'll notice that it kind of leaves out, where it is absolutely at the corner, like where it's touching it, it doesn't select those. You'll see like, that 1.2, 3 and 4 points sort of don't get selected. So make it slightly bigger. Okay. And the reason you move it up is so that it doesn't select the base points. So you kind of just move it up slightly. Okay. And then I also want to select the bottom. So take a group combine. Okay. So just type in combine. Yeah. So take a group combine, and I can say like bottom is not equal to top. Yeah. So it selects the bottom. Okay. And now take a promote. So you'll need like 2 group promotes to just upgrade. So you want to convert from points to edges, and the group name is top. and you want to say like include only elements on boundary. There you go. And we'll call the new name as top as well. Okay, so we should have, see, we have a group called top, and then we duplicate this and just change the names to bottom. Yeah. Okay, and then we can do a poly bevel. So take a poly bevel, and this is for the top. So I can just, I can make it big and give it some rounding. Okay. Now here again, what I want to do is I want to have like two of them, because when it's smooth, having this kind of rounding is fine. But when you change it to grooves, it doesn't look, as good. Okay, so what you want to do is maybe when it's got grooves like these, it's a little more chamfered. So what I can do is I can call this as bevel round, and I can call this as bevel chamfer. And this one, what I'll do is I'll just make it, like really small, like that. So see, so this one looks better when it's like more squared like this. We can also try to increase the resample points here. Let's make it like 100. Yeah, there you go. So that looks good. And let's call this as groove depth and make it 0.98. Yeah, I think that is fine. We'll give it normals later, so then it won't look this bad. And what I can do is, let's bring this back here, and we put a switch. So when it is on 0, it's using this, and when it goes to 1 in the grooves, we'll do a copy parameter and paste relative reference. So when the grooves switches, we get, it automatically switches to this chamfer. So when it's this, it gives you a rounded version, and when it's that, it sort of switches. Like if you give it some normals, it will look better. So if I give it like normal, and we'll do like face area, let's say 30 degrees, and let's try to switch this. Yeah, there you go. See, so that looks better. And if we come up here and change the shape, see, so we get something pretty decent. And we can, I think we should also increase this to be like completely rounded. It looks, yeah, it'll look better like that. We can also like control the width of this a little bit. Yeah, okay, this is nice. Okay, and then I just want another bevel to bevel the bottom of this. So I'll just take another poly bevel here, and this is for the bottom. Yeah, so just a little bit like that, so because we're not going to see the base anyways, so it'll just look nice. Okay, let me just move this away a little bit. So yeah, so you can actually like control the size of this from here, and we can sort of control the height of this. Yeah, so all of this is fine. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is we can have like two variations of this, so we can have one like this, and we can have one where it is attached to a base, so it sort of rounds off into that. So what I can do is I can just take the base circle, okay, like this guy, okay, except that it will have to match the size from here. So just take a transform and like plug this in. Let's call this as base size, and we'll do right click, copy parameter, paste relative reference. So it matches the exact size of this. But then actually no, don't name it anything. Yeah, this will be the base size, because the thing is it will have to be slightly bigger, otherwise you won't get a bevel. So let's just call this as base size, and it will be like slightly bigger than this, so you get like a little bit of distance over there. Okay, now the same thing, let's just call this rotate 90, and I can just Control C, Control V, and plug this in, and let's call this as base height, and we'll take another sweep and single polygon. Okay, there you go. Now what we need to do is this needs to move up to the height of this. Okay, let's keep it slightly lesser. Yeah. So let's bring it like here, and I can take a transform. Let's get rid of the normals for now. And all we need to do is just take the line height from here, like do copy parameter and paste relative reference in the y-axis. So what you'll get is this is like directly on top over here. But we don't want the poly bevel over here. Okay, so when it moves up, because we wanted to bevel, we wanted to sort of like, you know, boolean with that. So there's no point having like a poly bevel over here. Okay, so what I can do is maybe I can put in another switch here. Okay, so just take a switch and, you know, like I can take the plane thing here and, or hold on, let's take the poly bevel first and this one second. And I can just switch to this. So, you know, there you go. So there's nothing here. And then we have this transform. And what I want to do is I want it slightly inside that. Okay, so I'll do like a minus 0.02. So it is sort of like, you know, it is intersecting with this. Otherwise, if you do a boolean, nothing will happen. So take a boolean now. So take a boolean union. And we can just, you know, boolean these two together. So this one and that one. You can go either ways, it will be fine. Okay, we're doing a union, so it doesn't matter. Okay, and then I just want to bevel these seams. So just turn on like output edge groups and turn on AB seams, and then take a bevel. So take a poly bevel, and we'll use AB seams and just increase that. See, there you go. Okay, just increase it and give it some divisions. See, so you get like a nice little rounding. And here I also want to sort of bevel these sides. So after the sweep, I can just take a group node. I can just call it bevel. Come to edges, and you can just turn on include by edges minimum angle, and that will automatically select these. And take a bevel here. Yeah, do bevel, yeah, and just give it like a slight bit. Okay, there you go. So what you get is, you know, like something like this. You can round it off if you want. So it'll just look nicer. Yeah. And then if I plug the normal over here, so we get this. Okay, and so if we come up with the grooves, it should work. See, there you go. So you get a nice little blend, and we can also do the shape changing. There you go. See, okay. So it gives you like a nice little, and then we can also take like this dial size and scale it down. So it gives you, you know, like a decent result overall. And now what I can do is I can switch it between the normal shape and like, let's do one thing. Let's just let's remove this. We actually don't need the switch here. Okay, like let's plug this in. I'll keep this separate. Okay, and we can sort of switch between, you know, this guy, which is like at base level, and, you know, this guy. Okay, so what I can do is I can just take a switch here. I can call it raised, and this is the base version, and then when we switch, this is the raised version, and plug that in. So I can now switch between, you know, like a normal and this, and I can, like, you know, take this back to a circle. And as a final thing, what I can do is I can also give it a taper. So I can come in at some point after the switch, I can just take a taper. So take a linear taper, and there seems to be an issue with this version where it doesn't seem to go in the positive. Like when you press B, you can use B to sort of cycle through the capture. But it, okay, so if I press M, okay, M reverses the capture. Yeah, because what was happening is like if you do B and it wasn't really like earlier it used to cycle through all of it, but now it goes in one direction. So yeah, you have like shortcuts here. I didn't read those. Okay, so press M to sort of like, reverse the capture. Okay. Okay, so this is fine. We just need it in, this is 0. The capture length should be equal to the line height. Okay, so take this, right click, copy parameter, come to taper and paste relative reference. Okay, there's a lot of like, referencing that you'll need to do to make sure that everything works, but there you go. So now what I have is, I have like a nice little, thing like this. You can also give it like more rounding if you want to be like, if you want it to be like really smooth. But just remember, like if it's too smooth and things start to sort of expand too much, it will cause issues. So you have to keep an eye on this, like how much you want it. And we can sort of come in here to this and change the shape. See. So we get like, a nice little result overall. Okay. So the base size, then you can kind of adjust. See, so if it gets too small, then it does, that it just breaks. So it'll look like this. Yeah, so you just have to make sure like, how much you want to scale it up. All right, so now that this much is done, let's just build like a casing for it. Okay, so just like an outer body for the whole thing. So what I can do is I can just take the same circle over here, like, this guy, and I can scale it up a bit more. And this will become the size of my casing. Okay, now you can have it circular, or I can just take a grid and, Boolean into that, like either ways it's fine. But with this, we get like one advantage. So I'll sort of show you when we get to that. And then this can be, we can again just take this and, like these three and do Control C, Control V. And let's call this as casing height. And this comes in here. So we'll get, that. And what we want to do is at the end of this, like this whole thing will move up to where, this thing starts. Okay, so I can just take a transform here and we'll call it move to casing. I don't know, that doesn't make any sense, but okay, casing. And what I can do is I can just take the, this length, copy parameter and do paste relative reference, sorry, in the y-axis. Yeah. So what will happen is, see, so this will be on top of that. Okay. Now we don't want it on top of that. We actually want it like inside. So what I'll eventually do is I'll do a Boolean with this, but I'll do like a minus 0.1. Yeah. So you can kind of, adjust it this way, or yeah. So what I can do is I can take a transform here and I can just, like use this to kind of like adjust how deep inside it should be. So this will just move it on top and this will adjust the height of it. Okay, now the same thing we want to do here, which is like this sweep. I'm going to use this to do a Boolean. Okay, like cut out a hole into this. So I'm going to take a transform with this guy and like copy parameter, paste relative reference. We'll make it like 1.1 and give it a bit more height. So make it 1.2 and just take a and then just move it up a bit. Like say about there. Okay. And then take a Boolean and we can do a subtract. So there you go. So you have like a hole in here. And so if we merge these together, you will get this. See. So this is inside, that. We can kind of, move it down further if we want. Maybe if we switch it back to normal, yeah. So you can, kind of get something like this. Okay, so this isn't bad. Or what I can do is I can take this and okay, fine. This is like, that will overcomplicate things, but this is good. Okay. What I can do is I can just take, how much this needs to scale up. So 0.05 should be okay. Yeah. And let's keep it to raised for now. Like it looks better like this. Okay. So let's take this guy here, do Control C, Control V. We can use this for Boolean. Yeah. Yeah, where's the poly bevel? Maybe slightly bigger. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So now as a final thing, what I want is I want there to be, like, you can do numbers, you can do markings or whatever. So let's just do markings on this. Okay. So what I can do is, okay, so this is where we get the advantage of this being a circle as well. You can actually just use that as like just for doing markings for what I'm about to do, and then do the rest, you know, separately. But yeah, so what I can do is I can take this circle, okay, so this base circle that we have, and I'm going to take an enumerate. So just take this and drop this in straight over here. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's just take these lines and give them a red color as well, so we know, like, you know, those are important. Okay, so we're going to take an enumerate, and I'm going to take this to points, and so this will sort of store each point in its, you know, it'll actually like store the point numbers into an attribute called index. Like if I change this to left, right, and I use the geometry spreadsheet, see, there you go. So you have like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's basically stored each point in an attribute called index. Okay, and then the same transform I wanted here. So Control C, Control V, and that comes in there. We can just merge these, we can just control these together. So copy parameter, paste relative reference. Let's call this as casing size. And now we merge them together. So take the base and this. So we have like these two circles. Now take an add node and do delete geometry but keep points, and then come into group and say by attribute and type index, and there you go, you'll get this. Okay, you can also do a resample, so we can specify how many points we want. Okay, so if I want like 40 points, 50 points, whatever, if I want like 36 points or, you know, something like that, so we can do those things. Now we can do something a little more interesting with this. So let's take a group by range, and let's just say I want to group every one of every 4, you know, so something like this, which is nice. Yeah, I think, or let's do one of every 6. Can we offset this? Yeah, there you go. So that gives you like almost like, you know, clocks or something like that, you know, so that is fine. Okay, and let's name this. So let's call this as long, and then I want to reverse this. So let's do a combine. So we'll take a group combine, and we're going to reverse this. So let's call these as short is not equal to long. There you go. And now take a carve, and I can just carve these. So we want to carve the short ones in the U. So there you go. So they kind of like, you know, so see, there you go. You have like, you know, you have these guys kind of becoming shorter. Okay, so you want to do like hands of a clock or something like that. You can do stuff like that. You can probably do like one of every 3, you know, that's not bad either. And then I can take another carve and make it short from both directions, because it's directly on the edge. So we don't want it like that long. So let's just take this over here. Okay. And then just take a sweep and change this to ribbon as well. And 1, and then make it like really tiny. And then just give it like a poly extrude. We'll give it a height of 0.01 or 0.05 and do output back. So we get this. And I can give it a color. Let's just make it black. Okay. And take a transform, and the height will be like, we can actually duplicate this. So this same height. So Control C, Control V, and that comes in there. Yeah. So if we merge it with this, we get that. Yeah, we probably have to carve it a bit more. Yeah, that's why that final carve is important. So we can just, you know, like cut it a little bit there. Yeah. Let's do one thing. Let's carve it, from the beginning itself. Yeah, there you go. That's better. Yeah. And then this curve just defines, like the short ones. And so we can actually just take this and maybe let's do like multiplied by 3. So you'll get this. All right, so now that we've finished this much, let's make a few final changes to this. Okay, so if I come to the raised option and I go back to 0, like it's fine when it's here, like it's fine when I have the shape like this, but this is too big, okay, because what's happened is that we have kind of changed the base size to be big enough to accommodate the bevel. So what we'll do is we'll take another base size. We'll have like 2 of them. And this will be this is about 1.2. So this will be just around 1.008. And we can switch between these. And this switch will be based on the raised, thing here. So copy parameter and do paste relative reference. Yeah, okay. So what should happen now is, this should be reversed. So let's do like 1 minus. Yeah, there you go. So what will happen is that when it is not raised, it is using a smaller scale value, and when it is raised, it's using a larger scale value. Okay, so when we sort of switch this to circle, see, it's just this. We can adjust it more. 1.03. Yeah, okay. Or 0.1. Okay, this is fine. So what will happen is, so when we switch over, it becomes bigger, and when it's there, it sort of becomes smaller. So you can automatically sort of adapt for that. Okay, now as a final thing, what I also want is, let's say we want to put like an arrow or something here, like a dot on top. So what I can do is, I can take like this, the dial size, and I can use that to sort of generate maybe like a line or something. Okay, and then copy something over there and do a boolean. Okay, so what we'll do is, I'm going to take this line that we have. I'll take a match size and I'll use the dial size. Okay, no need to translate, just do the same thing as before and do scale to fit and set it to Z axis. And what I'll do is, I'll just take this line and bring it in over there. There you go. Okay, so this is the size of, like if I make it bigger or smaller, you'll see like the line becomes bigger or smaller. And then take a refine and we add a point in the middle, but somewhere around like 0.8, because this is positive, this is Z in positive. Okay, so we want it over there. And this will be point number 2. Okay, this is like this 1 and 0, there's 0 and 1, and then the middle one becomes 2. Okay, so just take a group node and we'll just call it middle and points, and this will be group number 2. And then I can just take a simple sphere. I'll set this to polygon. We'll give it around say 7 in frequency and make it fairly tiny. So I'll make it around 0.1 over here, and I can do a copy. So do copy to points, and this will copy to mid. You can take any shape, like you want to take an arrow or something, you can do stuff like that. In this case, I'll just take this. Okay, see, there you go. So you have like a tiny little circle over there, which we can check with this size. Yeah, it's small enough. Okay. And now what we want to do is, we want to take a transform and move it up. Okay, so I can take a transform here, and let's do one thing. Let's move it to the height of the dial. So we'll right click, copy parameter and paste relative reference. So it goes up, like so it's there. See. But we also want to accommodate for when it is raised. Okay, so let's just switch to raised. See, so this is like if we come in here, so now it's like, inside that. So when it's 0, it's fine. Like where is it? Yeah, there you go. Okay, but when it is raised, it goes inside. So what we want to do is, we want to take another transform and this will take the value from here, from the base height. Okay, so we'll do right click, copy parameter, and in the y-axis paste relative reference. So now when we do raised, see, so this is okay. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So this is the problem, right? So the reason why I think it's, yeah, the reason why it's on top is because we moved it down by minus 0.02. So let's do one thing. Let's take it from here. So we'll do right click, copy parameter, and paste relative reference. There you go. Okay, so now it's fine because now it's sort of inside there. We'll just have to, we can use the refine, sort of move it in a bit. Yeah. And now we can do a Boolean. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a Boolean using a switch as well. Okay, so when it is 0, it will use this height to do the Boolean. And when it is 1, so when it is raised, it will use this height to do a Boolean. So let's take a switch and this and that, and this will also use the raised value. So copy parameter and paste relative reference. Yeah, okay. So we go back to 0 for now and do a Boolean. So do a Boolean subtract and do this. See, so we get this over here. And then when it's raised, it will automatically come up. See, so you get like, you know, both those options. And we merge it and there you go. So we have, you know, like a nice little dot over there. And then when we make it raised, it is still there. And then if we make it, if we turn it into a straight line, there you go. So you get like, you know, all your various options. So you can change it to an arrow, or, you know, like you can make an arrow using a circle. You know, like if I just take, if I take a circle, so if I take a circle and make it like 3 sides and I'll rotate it to 90, that will give me, you know, like an arrow. And then I can make it tiny. So let's make it like 0.1 and 0.1. Yeah. And then give it like a poly extrude. Yeah, firstly, we just need to like, let's just make it slightly big for now. Yeah. And take a transform and we can rotate it. Yeah, so rotate it 90 and then we can use a poly extrude. And do output back, and then we want to take a transform and just, you know, move it down a bit. So it kind of intersects, or you can just take a match size. Yeah, so just take a match size, and so that will push it in the center, which is good. So just make it, you know, smaller, like about the size of the sphere. Yeah, I think that's okay. And let's put a switch here so we can like switch between these and check and see what looks nice. Yeah, so just take this and switch it. Okay, and we can come down here. So we have this and we can switch it with the arrow. See, there you go. Okay. And if we want, we can do like, you can do a final poly bevel or something with that. You know, like once we do the Boolean, we'll have the option to generate edges. So we can do like AB seams. Let's call it AB seams A. And let's take a final poly bevel. Yeah, so let's take this and we'll call it AB seams A. There you go. And give it like a slight bit. Yeah, I don't know how this will work if we change it back to a circle. Like this is fine, but hold on, let's do one thing. Let's take the sphere and instead of like polygon, we'll set it to polygon mesh. Yeah, that will be fine. So then the Boolean will work better. So if I come in here, yeah, so this is it. And then when we switch it, it will still be fine. Yeah, there you go. See. So you can give it some rounding if you want to. Yeah, there you go. That looks nice. And as a final thing, like just if you want to do something fancy here, like I can take a curve here. and just cut this. See, so you can actually like, adjust it like that. Like if you want the numberings to be a little different or something, you can do things like these. Okay, anyway, so this is as like a final thing that you can do with it. You can keep adding stuff to it, like however much you want. You can keep adding, but yeah, I think this is fine. And let's switch this to an arrow. There you go. Okay, so that's how you can model a procedural dial. So the idea with doing like small elements like this is when you're doing like a large scene and you want certain items to be procedural and have like a variety of shapes in them. So you can just make like one digital asset and then just have it copied to different places and have like different types of dials or whatever you want. So this is like a good base for that. Okay, so you can then kind of do n number of variations with the whole thing. Okay, so I don't know what I'll come up with next, but next week again I'll try and do something related to procedural modeling. Okay, that's pretty much it.